Imagine a world where a single geopolitical decision made in a closed room can silently raise prices, empty stores, and push millions towards survival overnight. Not with bombs or bullets, but through control of trade routes, energy supplies, and the fragile system that keeps goods moving. This is not science fiction. This is how modern conflicts begin, quietly, strategically, and often unnoticed by the public. And what happens next will shock you, because the collapse does not start with war, it starts with disruption. In today's interconnected world, global supply chains act like invisible lifelines connecting countries, industries, and people together. Raw materials move across continents, factories transform them into products, and ships deliver them to markets worldwide. This system depends on stability, trust, and continuous movement through critical trade routes and infrastructure. But the moment conflict enters the equation, this entire system begins to crack under pressure. When tensions rise between powerful nations, trade routes become risky, and shipping lanes begin to slow down or shut completely. Cargo ships are delayed, insurance costs increase, and companies hesitate to move goods through unstable regions. Factories begin to suffer as essential components fail to arrive on time, halting production lines across industries. But wait till you hear this part, because this disruption does not stay local, it spreads globally within days. Air routes are restricted, ports become congested, and transportation systems struggle to keep up with sudden changes. Warehouses either overflow with delayed goods or remain empty due to shortages, creating imbalance everywhere. Even industries like healthcare and technology begin to feel the pressure as supply becomes unpredictable. And slowly, the world starts experiencing a chain reaction that no one can easily control. As supply chains weaken, inflation rises rapidly, affecting both developed and developing nations at the same time. Fuel becomes more expensive, increasing transportation costs and raising prices for almost every product. People begin to feel the pressure in their daily lives as basic necessities become harder to afford. And this is where economic disruption turns into a global crisis. Now imagine this situation escalating further as conflicts expand and involve multiple powerful nations competing for dominance. Countries begin restricting exports of oil, food, and essential materials to protect their own populations. Global cooperation weakens and alliances shift based on survival rather than long-term partnerships. And the world begins to divide into competing power blocks. Food supply chains are among the first to collapse under such pressure, as transportation delays disrupt the delivery of crops. Farmers struggle with shortages of fuel and fertilizers, reducing production at the worst possible time. Supermarkets begin to empty, and people notice the absence of basic items they once relied on daily. What started as a distant conflict now becomes a personal crisis for millions. Poverty rises as businesses shut down and job opportunities disappear due to economic instability. Families struggle to afford food, electricity, and health care as the cost of living continues to rise. Communities become tense, and uncertainty grows as people worry about their future and survival. And this economic pressure slowly transforms into social instability. But wait till you hear this part, because conflicts do not just disrupt economies, they reshape global power completely. Countries that control key resources like energy and food gain significant influence over those that depend on them. This creates a new world order where power is concentrated in fewer hands than ever before. And this imbalance increases the risk of even greater conflict. Now imagine tensions reaching a breaking point where critical infrastructure becomes a direct target of conflict. Ports, pipelines, railways, and energy grids are attacked or shut down, cutting off supply chains entirely. Entire regions lose access to electricity, fuel, and communication systems that support daily life. And disruption turns into complete collapse. What happened next will surprise you, because the impact goes far beyond economics and begins to affect basic survival. Hospitals run out of medical supplies, transportation fails, and emergency services struggle to function. People shift their focus from routine life to survival, adapting to a world that feels unfamiliar and unstable. And daily life transforms into a constant struggle. In the most extreme scenario, geopolitical tensions escalate into direct military confrontation between major powers. The possibility of nuclear weapons being used introduces a level of destruction that changes everything instantly. But wait till you hear this part, because the damage does not stop at the explosion itself. Global supply chains collapse completely, leaving no system to support recovery. Radiation spreads across regions, making them unsafe for production, trade, and habitation for years. Food production declines sharply as environmental conditions worsen and resources become scarce. Countries isolate themselves, focusing only on internal survival rather than global cooperation. And the world fragments into disconnected regions struggling to survive. A nuclear winter could follow, reducing sunlight and lowering global temperatures significantly. Agriculture fails on a massive scale, leading to severe food shortages affecting billions of people. Mass migration begins as people search for safer areas, creating new conflicts over limited resources. And survival becomes the defining challenge of humanity. But here is something unexpected, because even in such chaos, human behavior begins to shape different outcomes. Some communities come together, sharing resources and rebuilding local systems to support each other. Others fall into conflict, where scarcity leads to competition and violence over basic necessities. And this contrast shows both the strength and weakness of humanity. Meanwhile, governments attempt to rebuild, redesigning supply chains to rely more on local production. Countries invest in self-sufficiency to reduce dependence on fragile global systems. Technology helps in recovery, but trust between nations remains uncertain and difficult to rebuild. And the global system begins to transform into something entirely different. But here is the most important part, because much of this scenario is not entirely fictional. Recent global events have already shown how easily supply chains can be disrupted by conflict and crisis. These are warning signs, giving humanity a chance to prepare and prevent a larger disaster. And understanding these systems may be the key to protecting our future. So next time you see a product on a shelf or fill your fuel tank, think about the journey behind it. Think about the countries, routes, and systems that made it possible without you even noticing. Because the world is more connected than it seems, and that connection is both its greatest strength and its biggest risk. And once it breaks, rebuilding it may take far longer than anyone expects. If this story made you think differently about the world around you, then you are already ahead. Because awareness is the first step toward change, and change begins with understanding. Make sure to like this video, subscribe for more powerful and eye-opening stories, and share your thoughts in the comments below. Do you think global supply chains can survive future conflicts? Or are we already closer to collapse than we realize?